straight. Ogie Bubbleverse 13. A letter home. Private communication. From Bograk of Tanarak, currently resident on Earth, Sol 30 GTO. The equal above all, currently resident on Tanarak home star 11 Henryson for communication. Reminder of continued existence. Reminder of continued existence. Communication begins the greetings to my progenitor, the equal above all. Once more, I report that my good health continues unabated. The engineering that has gone into my habitat, despite that of Thwicca being slightly larger, appears to be functioning adequately enough. Against all odds, I have yet to be afflicted by either a tsunami or an earthquake. However, my safety is not yet assured. I have been attacked not once or even twice, but 3 times by a native predator of this planet, attempting to breach the protection of my heat suit. Thus far, I have escaped without injury, but this state of affairs cannot last. The humans assigned to the duty of guarding my well-being have proven woefully inadequate to their task, either ignoring the creature or actually showing amusement at its attempts on my life. If this keeps up, I will be forced to make a formal complaint about their laxity. Paused Hoyle. Looked up as the annunciator chimes sounded, indicating that someone desired access to his presence. As he had not yet finished venting his jangled emotions, he left the half-finished message on pause and glanced at the alert screen. The image showed Thwicca waiting outside his airlock, 2 of her tentacles slowly winding together, then unwinding again, in the Faz Repeat gesture that he had learned meant patiently waiting for an expected event to happen. He had, without a doubt, spent more time on Earth, and in Thwicca's presence, than any other member of the Tanarak species. This was almost certainly the reason why he was actually starting to understand the concept behind the gesture, which would have been almost meaningless to him when he first arrived. If he'd even been interested in knowing what it signified. He would never have predicted before coming to Earth that Thwicca's human friends would pick up on the subtleties of her tentacular language before Pograk himself did. On the face of it, he would have considered such a thing ridiculous, if not flatly impossible, and indeed it had initially grated on him. After all, the Tanarak had known of the Fazaripi, if not by the name of their planet, for generations before humans had ever come on the scene. But the situation began to make sense to him once he'd reflected on it. While the Tanarak had known of Thwicca's species, that interest had never extended beyond. How can we get what we want out of them? Dwight, the human students were interested in Thwicca as an individual, and thus invested their time in learning how to communicate better with her. He'd even seen some of them mimicking her tentacular gestures to each other as part of their everyday communication. In other words, it was very much a human thing. Tapping the reply button, he spoke, knowing his words would be relayed to Thwicca. Hello, das Jisun? Kano, do you need me for something? At the same time, he searched the background of the image. The predator might yet be lurking out there, seeking to ambush him. There was no visible movement, which did not reassure him as much as it might have done. The creature was extremely adept at stealthy movement and could pounce from any angle. But Thwicca did not seem to be concerned, and she had survived longer on this hellhole of a planet than he had. Well, yes, Her tentacles twitched to indicate exasperated amusement. Otherwise, I wouldn't be standing here ringing your doorbell. From his studies of human idiom, he was aware of the phrase and its meaning. More to the point, he knew it was almost entirely incorrect in this specific context. His airlock was far more than a simple door, after all. And the hybrid electronic cryotronic system that conveyed the chime to his hearing had nothing to do with metal items striking each other. But he refrained from attempting to explain this to her, for the very good reason that he was well acquainted with her personal brand of gentle stubbornness. Even if he managed to put his entire point across without getting anything wrong, in no way a sinecure when it came to her superior knowledge of human languages, she would be just as likely to respond with the devastating and unanswerable rebuttal of, "So what? Very well. I will suit up and come out to you." Cutting the communication, he set about donning his heat suit. In stark contrast to the first time he put it on for real, there was no hesitation or awkwardness. Every step of the process was ingrained into his memory, to the point that even a surprise sleep period emergency drill had him standing outside in the suit before he properly woke up. The whole concept of surprise emergency drills had come as a horrible shock to him, though he had definitely come to see their utility after the fact. Suited up, with all telltales showing nominal, he cycled through the airlock and stepped out to join Thwicka. She greeted him with a very Fazirippy smile, though she didn't quite go far as to hug him, which he appreciated with his current level of wariness. "Hi," she said brightly, instead. "Hello," he said again. "What did you need me for?" "Wow, you're prickly today." Her tentacles indicated concern rather than irritation, which was yet another thing he was still trying to get used to. Instead of biting back as virtually any Tanarak would do, her first instinct was to search out the reason for the verbal attack. "Are you okay?" "I am healthy. You said you needed me for something." He was trying not to be rude to her, mainly because she had never attacked him, and had even defended him on occasion. As bizarre as this would sound to any Tanarak who hadn't spent time on Earth, she seemed determined to be his ally, even with no reward in the offer. Saying, "I'm healthy," is not the same as saying, "I'm okay." Just saying. But anyway, I wanted to give you this. She brought one of her tentacles from behind her back where it was holding a colorful flower. That was it. The cryobiology worlds had no real equivalent to the sessile plant organisms that were so prevalent on Earth, although certain crystalline processes could mimic the flower shape in non-living materials. There was no mistaking one for the other. He accepted the gift, albeit warily. "Why are you giving me this?" The literature he'd perused noted that some flowers exuded volatile chemicals, all of which would be solid rocks at his preferred temperature range, which were apparently pleasant to humans. "You know I cannot smell it." Thwicka gave a well-duh tentacle flip, a popular favorite among her human friends. "It's not to smell, silly. It's to look at. Maybe send home to your mom. I bet she's never seen one before." "But why this one?" He examined the flower more closely, impressed despite himself with the intricate internal structure. Intellectually, he was aware that it would suffer no more injury from the hellish temperatures of the surrounding gaseous oxygen-nitrogen atmosphere than would any of the human students. But emotionally, he had trouble assimilating the concept that the delicately spun petals could continue to exist in the horrific environment outside his heat suit, without combusting, melting, or outright evaporating. "You have never given me a flower before. These are new seeds I was given," she explained blithely. "They're called snapdragons. I decided to give you the first flower that bloomed, because Tanarak look a little like dragons, and you're usually a bit snappish. Do you like it?" Pograk had also read about dragons. It had come as a shock to find out that humans had made up stories, not to mention games, according to some of his acquaintances in the wargaming club, about such creatures. Why would such a formidable species choose to terrify themselves with such tales, when dragons didn't even exist? Humans, at every turn, never ceased to puzzle and confuse him. Its symmetry and coloration are pleasing to the eye, he conceded. He wasn't about to argue the part about him being snappish, because he knew it was true. "I am sure my female progenitor will find it intriguing. But will this not interfere with your supply of plant samples to Fazarit for study?" "Nah. I've got plenty to go around. It literally grows out of the ground around here." She waved an airy tentacle. "All I've really got to do is water them and wait." He glanced around to ensure the predator was not lurking in wait or stalking him even now, then looked back to her. "I will have it conveyed to her, along with your wishes that she receive it. I am sure it will be the first of its kind on Tanarak. That'll be awesome. But this doesn't address the dilephanting in the room." She clasped her tentacles in front of her and looked at him directly. "What's got you so jumpy? You haven't stopped looking around since you stepped out of the airlock." He had not heard that specific idiom before, but he knew what an elephant was. They were bigger and bulkier than any Hellworld creature had a right to be, and they would certainly be the major topic of conversation in any room they were found in. Twika had always been better at human language than he was, so he decided to assume she was using the term correct. "There's a predator attempting to kill me," he said stiffly. "It has been stalking me for the last few days, doing its best to breach the containment of my heat suit. The humans have been of no use whatsoever. I have to be on guard every moment, or it may get the better of me." "A predator?" She twisted her tentacles together in a puzzled fashion. "I'd have to ask Serena, but I'm fairly sure there's nothing around here that could threaten the other students, much less either of us. My experience says otherwise." He glanced around again. "It has attacked me no fewer than 3 times. Her tentacle gestures seemed to indicate a rather dubious expression. "Okay, granted I've been here for less than a year, but if anything was going to attack you 3 times, there it is," he shouted, pointing with the hand, not holding the flower. "Beware. It may attack you as well." For his constant vigilance had paid off, detecting the gray and black of the predator as it lunged toward them out of the shadows. "What?" She turned as the predator entirely ignored her to launch itself at Heizi's heat suit. With an ominous rhythmic growling sound, it leaped onto his shoulder, then stretched itself out, its claws scraping against the outer layer of his suit as it tried to gain entry. He turned his head, but could not see where it was. Unaccustomed fear rising in him as he realized it was on his... Where is it? Is it? Get it off me. What? Ooh. She asked again, in a totally different tone. Pograk, that isn't a dangerous predator. It's not. He turned his head again, failing once more to spot his attacker. Then what is it? Why is it attacking me? Oh, don't be so brain-heated. It's a catty. It's not attacking you. It likes you for some reason, so it's trying to get close to you. Reaching up, she lifted the thing off the back of his neck with a couple of tentacles. Who's a cute kitty? Yes, you are. He stared in disbelief at the creature now cradled in her grasp, not fighting to get free as he would have expected it to. It was still making the rhythmic growling noise, but as her tentacles stroked its fur, only an evolutionary adaptation that a hell-worlder would possess, it arched its back in seeming enjoyment. How did you do that? I swear upon my progenitors it was attacking me. She looked more closely at him. Oh, I see. Your primary heat vents are behind your shoulders and your neck. Now she was just babbling. What does the construction of my heat suit have to do with why that creature insists on assaulting me with its claws? Looking at it even now with heat-differentiated vision, he could see the burning pits of its eyes, fixed on him with what he had to assume was malicious intent. Cats love warmth, she explained. They'll happily fall asleep in a shaft of sunlight. There are jokes about it. This one has discovered that your heat vents make your shoulders and the back of your neck pleasantly warm. And the claws. He shook his head. I tell you, it was attempting to gain entry to my suit. She made the tentacle gesture, demonstrating amused exasperation. For some reason, she seemed to use that one around him a lot. No, it wasn't. When cats are comfortable, they may need their claws into whatever they're lying on to make it softer. Besides, we both know it couldn't even begin to damage the finish on your heat suit. So why did it pick me over, well, anyone else? It had to understand that I had no desire for it to be around me. Yes? It would. Frika chuckled. Cats are strange and illogical creatures that will walk away from people who wish to pet them, but will crowd around those who want nothing to do with them. Your behavior merely makes it wish to be near you even more. Illogical is hardly descriptive enough, he grumbled. But you are saying that it is merely attempting to be affectionate, despite having no knowledge of my true nature? That's what I'm saying, yes. She stroked the cat again. You know when a cat's happy, because it purrs like it's doing now. Oh, I thought that was a growl. Having his assumptions be challenged was, unfortunately, not an uncommon experience since he had first come to her. Even when he thought he knew what was going on, it often turned out that his own preconceptions had blinded him to the true state of affairs. So, when the guards were amused, they probably thought you were just playing with the cat and pretending to be scared of it. Her tone was kind. though he couldn't quite tell whether she was humoring him or was being genuine in her words. I doubt very much they believed that you thought you were really being attacked. Ah. This made him feel better, now that he was less likely to be seen as a figure of fun. And you say that it is indeed a predator? Sure. She mimicked a shrug with her tentacles. It's related to some of the more serious predators on the planet. Lions, tigers, leopards, and jaguars. If one of those goes after a human, the human is in serious trouble. This put matters in entirely a different perspective. A predator and a relative of even more effective predators had sought him out for companionship. So, if I wished to encourage its presence, she beamed at him. I'm pretty sure I know who to ask about pet food shops. Community. Communication begins. Greetings to my progenitor, the equal above all. Once more, I report that my good health continues unabated. The engineering that has gone into my habitat, despite that of Thwicca being slightly larger, appears to be functioning adequately enough. Against all odds, I have yet to be afflicted by either a tsunami or an earthquake. I have been gifted a flower by Thwicca, the daughter of Saduk, the first of its type that she has grown in her garden. It en route by a fast courier, to be presented to my female progenitor as per the request of Thwicca. In other news, it appears that I have acquired a cat.